Monday, July 8th, 4:30 p.m. Mountain Time, 2019. Guys, in this video, we're going to take a look at a record-setting thunderstorm out over central Maryland this morning that dropped 4 inches of rain in less than an hour. Depending on where the source comes from, some say 6 inches of rain. I also noticed as I was watching that storm on the GO 16, looked like something came in the atmosphere over Northern California from out over the Pacific. I also took a little video clip of that as well. Then we're going to take a look at this FrankenStorm that's forming over the Ohio River Valley. It's making its way south to become a tropical storm. Windy.com, the model is still holding strong. In fact, it has the storm increasing now to a Cat 2. We're going to take a closer look at that here in a minute. But this storm has origins over land that's going to become a tropical storm. And this is the potential path of the storm right here, originating somewhere in western Tennessee, coming south. It's actually now in Georgia, Alabama. When it gets into the warm Gulf waters, it will spawn into a tropical storm. And like I said earlier, we're going to take a closer look at that here in a minute. Right now, we're here at hailreports.com. We're looking at the situation now with regard to weather across the United States, and these are just the reports. This is by no means everything that's going on. Got 2 reports of tornadoes out of North Dakota. Don't know if that's the same one or 2 separate ones. Large hail in North and South Dakota. High winds extending from Idaho to South Carolina, North Carolina, New Orleans, and north central Texas. Looking at the GO 16, you can see why. There are large thunderstorms all throughout the mid-Mississippi River Valley, Ohio River Valley, and along the eastern seaboard. But this morning, there was a very strong, very small thunderstorm over central Maryland that was setting records as I was watching it, so I went ahead and recorded it. And the report I got across my phone had a flash flood warning come across for central Maryland. Said there was 3 to 6 inches of rain that had fallen from that little storm right there. And like I said, I see these types of storms on this instrument all the time, practically every day. So I didn't think this storm was any different really than any other storm that I see on here, because I watch this instrument all the time. But wow, was it loaded with moisture. Dropped 4, possibly 6 inches of rain in that area right there in less than an hour. I'm going to show you a creek that jumped 10 feet in less than an hour as it was trying to manage all of the water that fell from that record-setting storm you're looking at right there. Just loaded with VIL. The VIL was probably in the 80s or 90s. It's vertical integrated liquid. And it was a slow-moving storm, but it was very small. And like I said earlier, not anything that we don't see on a daily basis. Unlike this here, we don't see what I'm about to show you on a daily basis. As I was watching the storm on the East Coast, I noticed something over here on the West Coast. It looked like a fireball that came in the atmosphere. Maybe the upper atmosphere left a trail. Maybe it was some space debris. Looks like it was traveling from the northwest to the southeast, coming in off of the Pacific Ocean. You can see it right there. It almost looks like a fireball trail. Don't know, I just recorded it as I found it very interesting. That you don't see very often. These types of storms we do see on here all the time. In fact, if you look at the GO 16 now, there's even larger ones on here that are not dropping 4 inches of rain in an hour. However, looking towards this weekend, that could all change in the southern Gulf states, especially Louisiana and coastal Texas, if this storm, this land-based low pressure that is moving towards the Gulf of Mexico, that could become a tropical storm, even though it doesn't have tropical origins. Right now, that's the location according to the National Hurricane Center. They're giving this thing an 80% chance in the next 5 days of becoming a tropical storm. The map that I showed you was where this thing originated from. We did a video a couple of days ago talking about the possibility of a storm forming in the Gulf of Mexico in the very warm waters of the Gulf, and that's where it was at the time, near Clarksville, Tennessee. Now it's kind of wandered down through Georgia, Alabama. It's right in here, and it's a low pressure system. Once it gets into the very warm waters of the Gulf of Mexico, it could spawn into a very strong tropical storm, even becoming a hurricane. This is a model from windy.com Saturday night at 7 p.m., making landfall in the Lake Charles area with wind gusts of 105 miles per hour. This is windy.com. This is what I've been using for the last several days when I've followed this low pressure, seriously, from Clarksville, Tennessee, right up in the Nashville area, coming down and then out into the Gulf. This is just one model. It's a model that has been very consistent since this thing was conceived. Here's a snapshot of what it looked like a couple of days ago from windy.com. I took a screenshot when it was showing it making a landfall near New Orleans as a Category 1 storm. Now it's showing it making landfall near Lake Charles as a Category 2 storm. So you see what's going on. It's got it moving more towards the west. So big heads up, Houston, as this thing could move farther and farther to the west. This again is still a few days out. It's a forecast that can and will change. So we're going to keep a very close eye on it. The National Hurricane Center is watching this very closely as they're giving this thing an 80% chance of becoming a tropical storm, even though it does not have tropical origins. And this storm, as it's making its way into the Gulf of Mexico, will potentially form right in the middle of this very large hypoxic zone that's currently in the Gulf of Mexico. So we're keeping a very close eye on that. We're here at windy.com. They're showing us now this thing making landfall somewhere between Texas and Louisiana as a Category 2 storm on Saturday evening with wind speeds or wind gusts of over 100 miles an hour. Once again, this is a model from windy.com. Rainfall totals are right now just estimates, but if it does make landfall in this area, they're estimating right now rainfall totals of 12, possibly 16 inches locally. That can and will change. Once again, this is a forecast, but this right now is what it's showing. A very strong Category 2 storm making landfall somewhere between Louisiana and Texas. How about these 90-degree balmy days up in Anchorage, Alaska? How about that? First time ever, 90 degrees in Anchorage, Alaska. I saved some screenshots too from the other day. This is from July 6th from hailreports.com, and you're seeing a lot of damage up in Maine. And this is something I don't hardly ever see also on this map. Look at all the wind damage extending down the East Coast, but up in Maine, several trees, several power outages at the time. I think at one point there were 15,000 or 12,000 customers without power up in Maine. That too is something that you just don't hardly ever see, and that extended over into July 6th, July 7th. A lot of high winds, large hail. If I'm not mistaken, a water spout or quite possibly even a small tornado. But the weather patterns throughout the United States have been very strange. I noticed a vehicle was overturned back on July 6th in New Jersey, and I was reading the reports here at hailreports.com. Went on to say a vehicle was overturned on the 6th of July. Natural gas lines were leaking at a building that had taken on some damage. Trees down, power lines down. So these storms, like I said, I follow these storms every day on this radar. You can see there's some very strong storms right now on the eastern edge of North Carolina, the northern edge of the northern edge of South Carolina. Very strong storms in central Texas, Texas Panhandle. So this isn't anything that we don't see pretty much now on a daily basis. So that storm this morning was somewhat of an anomaly, much like those temperatures up in Alaska. 90 degrees, unbelievable. Much like these photographs and video that have been sent in recently by you guys that are wide awake and on the ball. Daryl D from Fountain Hills, Arizona. Great photograph, Daryl. Jackie from Hawaii, spectacular shadow casting across the sky. This here is super, super unusual. Kevin and Maddie are driving down the road when they look up and see a square in the sky. And it's almost a perfect square. Cumbria, United Kingdom. How do you even describe that? I mean, it's a square. It's a square cloud. There's no other way to describe it. Like here, this is a big oval-shaped cloud. Kelly from Virginia. There's like an oyster in the sky. This looks like a colored oyster in the sky, or a clam. Elizabeth, Arkansas. Dania from Fairfield, Ohio. Look at that. Just amazing observations. Kelly, once again, from Virginia. Went from a oyster to a triangle. Some sort of a unique color on these mountains here, and this was taken in North Carolina, a photo by Nancy, and she notices not a rainbow, but it looked like a rainbow that was laying on the mountains. That's why she took the photograph. Purples and blues and light yellow, just a really unique photo. Much like this one here from Pigeon Forge, Tennessee, taken by Nick. Look at that. Looks like a donut sitting on top of the mountain, all by itself. Maybe with a bite out of it or something. I mean, I don't know. It's just super weird. Looked like a tire sitting up there. That's what compelled him to take the photograph. Here's another rainbow horizontal going across the sky, taken by Mike from Colorado. And here's something that you don't see every day. I think sometimes we may see these things high up in the sky and mistake them for something else. This time it was low enough for Rhonda of Scottsdale, Arizona to get a real good look at it. Definitely a balloon going over North Scottsdale, Arizona. And that was back last week. Ominous sky here from Montana. Photo taken by Jasmine. Look at that. And this one here from Canada, taken by Gory. It's just unbelievable. And once again, these clouds here look like they're almost ready to touch the ground. And that's something we've been seeing a lot of lately, or at least quite a bit, much like this one here from Holly Pond, Alabama. Who was that photo taken by? Taken by Tuck. Look at that. Big shelf cloud that looks like it's touching the tops of those buildings over there. Just unbelievable. David, big, spectacular sun halo. Good observations, guys. Look at this here, Providence, Rhode Island. That's why I wanted to show you the storm damage that I saw up in Maine. This is from July 8th. They had issues up there July 6th, July 7th in the Maine area. Obviously, Rhode Island is south of Maine. But here's some of the ominous-looking storm clouds that were in the area during that time frame. Just unbelievable. Much like this photograph here by Kimmy from LaGrange, Georgia. That's exactly how I received it. Springville, Utah. Christie, more ominous clouds. I mean, they're all over the place, coast to coast. Tell me what you see here. Do you see it yet? I'm going to pull it forward for you to make it really super easy to see. Photo sent in by Brooke from Natrona, Pennsylvania. There's something right here in the center of the photograph, and she was keen enough to notice it and actually took a picture. That's the original. Here's a slightly modified version of the original. I haven't done anything to the original except adjust the color and lighting just a little bit to pull forward what appear to be a row of lights or windows on some sort of a disc-shaped object. Look at that. Don't think you're supposed to see that. There's another good look at it right there. That's not a random collection of clouds. That's some sort of a machine tucked away in the clouds. Brenda H. noticed something in the sky that looked like an upside-down chair, quite possibly an H. It was the only thing like it in the sky. In fact, it was the only cloud in the sky. Just unbelievable. Barb A. Spectacular sunset or sunrise. Lynchburg, Virginia, noticed what looked like a big bird in the sky. And once again, it was the only, at least very tall cloud in the sky at the time that photo was taken. Kimmy, once again, from LaGrange, Georgia. Pink skies, orange skies. Sunset photo here taken by Nikki of what appears to be a dual sun. That's what it looks like. Malaysia, Debbie sends in this spectacular photo of the sky, loaded with color. Mark from Alsop, United Kingdom. Spectacular photograph of either a sunrise or a sunset. South Florida, May, of a glowing cloud in the sky that appears to have some wind shear on top of it. Monmouth, United Kingdom. Fiona noticed a cloud in the sky that was in the shape of a triangle, and it too was the only cloud in the sky. Wow. Northwest Michigan, beautiful photograph sent in by Cindy. Thank you, Cindy. Another photograph that looks very similar to the one from Northwest Michigan. However, this one's from Golden, Colorado, sent in by Nick. Nick has an excellent eye for the sky. Thank you, Nick. Washington, Zach, another excellent photographer. Zach, too, has an awesome eye for the sky. Much like this shot here by Julie from South Florida. Spectacular photograph of an independent cloud reaching high up into the sky. Appears to be glowing at the top with wind shear like hair blowing across the top of the very tall cloud structure. Well, it was noticed by Julie, who was out on a boat. Then Ruth happened to notice the same cloud from land, and these two people don't know each other, but they were in the same line of sight at nearly the same exact time, because you can see that same feature of what looks like wind blowing across the top of that cloud, and it looks identical to Julie's photograph. That does not happen very often. Thank you guys, I appreciate it. San Diego, Tricia noticed a purple cloud in the sky as she got off work, and she tried to backtrack this purple cloud to some sort of light on the ground to try to make some sort of rational sense out of why there was a purple cloud in the sky, and she couldn't find anything. There was not anything out over the water where this thing was glowing purple. So for whatever reasons, there was a strange purple cloud out over the coastal San Diego area a few nights ago. Here's a video that I showed you from that still image Debbie sent in from Malaysia. Spectacular look at a cloud structure high in the sky that's casting shadows outward and upward with some color that almost looked like flames coming out of the clouds. I mean, it's just beautiful. There's no other way to describe it. Great job, Debbie. Once again, that's from Malaysia. And here's the video of the two photographs that I shared with you. One that looks like a big oyster or a clam in the sky, and then the one on the left looked like a triangle. Video sent in by Kelly from Virginia. Great observation. Much like this one here, that looks just like something you would see out of a movie. Wolf, Wyoming, sent in by White Light Goddess. Just a glowing mushroom cloud. Unbelievable. Great video from Wyoming. Wow, that is absolutely awesome. And here's some lightning from the Washington, D.C. area. This was sent in by Cindy, and that occurred a couple of days ago. So once again, 90-degree temperatures in Anchorage, Alaska, never before seen. And we're about to see a tropical storm form that originates from land. It's going to come out into the Gulf of Mexico, potentially. This is what the forecast models are showing us. Potentially come off land from up here on Thursday night, make it out into the Gulf of Mexico from land. You can see up in here this little area of disturbance. That's a low pressure system coming out into the Gulf of Mexico, turning into a tropical storm, making landfall right now in the Beaumont area as a Category 1, possibly a Category 2 storm. This is according to windy.com. Locally in these areas here east of Beaumont, right on the state line, Louisiana-Texas state line, could see multiple inches of rainfall in a very short period of time. So big heads up, guys. Hopefully this won't happen, but right now models are definitely suggesting that it's going to. Thanks for watching. Have a super day and be safe out there.